Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to episode number 4 of Congruity Corner, the live stream on the Congruity 360 YouTube channel. If you guys are in the chat, get involved. We'd love for you to hit the thumbs up. It's free. We'd love for you to share this out with some friends that didn't even know this level of exciting entertainment existed for free in their life. See if they want to come on over. And then also get involved in the chat. We have Jim Harris saying, hey, in the chat. We got OD. Hey, Matt. We have Kenny. We have Leo. We have So welcome everybody out there. We are going to have a great show today, right now. My name is Dan C. Bearded, online, government name, Daniel Command, and I am the host of this show. I always like to say I'm the color commentator. I don't live in the weeds of the technology world, but I am a deeply curious person, and I love learning about things that people specialize in and are passionate about. And that's what we're doing here, representing Congruity 360 and having this beautiful network of people that are interacting with the company, associated with the company, or at least going over topics that relate, that might bring people in to learn about this wonderful company. And as the host, I have a co-host here, and we were just talking. We've been co-hosting for like almost 4 years now, with literally only a break of 4 weeks in that entire span of hosting live streams together. Never missed, never have wanted to miss. This is like our therapy, and we appreciate you guys being here for this free therapy session. If you guys could help me welcome my co-host, Mr. Nick Phelps. Nick, number one.
What is up?
Number one, you're looking radiant today. Number two, you've got a vibe and aura about you of just pristine positivity. Tell me I'm wrong. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. You called it. I'm just seeing you see right through it, Dan. I tried to put on a serious face and you cut right through it with the everything's going great and I'm having an awesome day vibes.
Yep.
So, it started off a little dicey, I'll be honest. Today was one of those days. It took a hard 180 here on my last couple of calls. Had some good meetings and kind of just, focused on the positive and turned right around. So things are going great, man. You
Awesome.
caught me.
And Nick is a spring chicken. If you guys are not aware, he comes from warm weather states, growing up in Hawaii and Florida, now living in the cold and bipolar Northeast. And we, at least here in Michigan, yesterday and today have been some of the most beautiful days I can possibly remember. I would imagine something similar for you guys.
Yeah. Whatever hits you hits us next. So you guys had rain on what, like probably Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday?
All the above. Yes, literally.
Yeah. So we had it Sunday, beginning part of Monday. So kind of a washout on Sunday, and Monday it turned around and ended up being a really nice day. Weather was great. So it's not much to complain about. It feels like spring, and it's warm and sunny at this point, man. It's, you're right though. Thanks to poor decision-making skills and bad life choices, here I am in the very bipolar Northeast, where it was like 38 something degrees last week at one point, and now it's 85. So, who knows what it's going to do.
Insane. And we're going to get our guest in here momentarily because we want to have as much time with Mark that we can today. But I do have to say something that I noticed and observed with my day-to-day life outside of the stream over the last couple of weeks. You'll not believe the amount of technology and specifically like data management and cybersecurity conversations I have inserted into my life. And I think the cause is I'm very proud of this show, and I really, really enjoy it. So it just kind of like oozes out into conversation when people are like, what's new? And I'm like, well, how much time you got? It's so like I speak about this. But what I will say is how universally just accepted this content is, this concept is, the topics that we talk about. I've not met, and I'm deeply aware of people and how they react to things and when they're fake and when they're being polite. I've not had a topic that has been so universally just interested, whether it is the soccer mom that I'm sitting next to at practice, or the guy that's in his 60s, or even like my kids, and talking about cybersecurity and all these things. It is unbelievably interesting to almost everyone. And I'm not even just talking AI. Clearly, that's the buzzword and the big thing right now. But even the deeper topics, everyone has this like almost like intrinsic fear, but this intrinsic like interest with it. I just have to say it has overcome my like peripheral conversations in my life everywhere.
Isn't it? It's crazy how that works. Like, when I think years ago, I was criticized by somebody at some point for talking about work too much and just my personal everyday life.
Yeah,
And
you told me that.
you and I are the same, right? We do everything the same way. The way we do anything is the way we do everything. So, I mean, if we're pumped about something, everyone around us is going
Yeah.
to know that we're pumped on it, right? It's the way it goes. And so, you know what? I eventually, at first I was like, oh God, maybe I do. I wonder if people like that. And then so I started not doing that, right? I started like
Okay.
making sure I didn't bring anything up. And the amount that I ended up talking about what I do actually went up because people then would have to prod me for information, which would cause me to talk about it more than if I brought it up myself.
Right.
But you're dead on right. I mean, it is one of those weird topics where if you say like, what do you do for a living? And you kind of just list off the generic explanation of it, people could be like, don't know what that is. Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
But if you give any amount of detail as to what it is that you do or impact versus what it's called, then it's like you said, it's like wildly accepted and mutually, interesting to most people.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And today, you guys are in for a treat. And anybody watching these episodes, we have had just unbelievable guests. Spoiler, Mark is an incredible speaker, great charisma. I don't ever want any of this to be intimidating to potential future guests. I will promise you, it is such a simple stream to talk about, and it's for that reason that Nick just shared. It's so interesting. There's just so much curiosity surrounding it, and we will only ever talk to people about what they just know, what they just live and breathe, and they can speak in circles without even thinking about it. So anybody watching, understand that we are so excited for future guests to be on here. And I promise, if there's anything that I'm good at with this stream, it's making people feel comfortable and then guiding them through this hour. So to our guests that we've had, to Mark, to anybody in the future, thank you for giving us that trust. We're going to have some fun. And Nick, I'll kick it to you for a little intro for our friend today.
Oh man. So the man who, when you read his title on LinkedIn, if you're a technologist, needs no explanation or introduction. It's like the best title that I've ever seen anybody come up with. It's fantastic, very descriptive. He calls himself a performacologist online. And if you work in the world of technology at all, that kind of relates you to anything that's observability, performance related. So we'll ask Mark exactly in his own words what that means and what a performacologist actually does. But I've known Mark now for, I'd say about 6 years or so. And we've worked together in a number of capacities. So he works with one of my largest partners and customers, Freedom Pay, down in Philadelphia. And him and I work on opposite sides of the same problems. So it's actually really interesting. Me being on the network and security kind of architecture side of the house, and Mark being on the application and performance and data management side of the house. It's very interesting because we're both right-brained people, artists, musicians, and we both kind of come to the table as thought leaders and intellectual property contributors to different sides of the same problem. So we don't get to work together all the time. So when opportunities like this come up where we do get to work together and interact, I jump at the opportunity because he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I'm sure we'll land in that category with you guys as well. So with that, let's bring in Mark.
All right, guys, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Mark. He's here. Mark, how you doing?
I am really, really good. Thank you for a marvelous introduction. And Dan, I like your point. It's like never be intimidated about the ability to have a conversation. It can be intimidating. Anyone, we do like a public speaking group here. And it's not like
cool.
Toastmasters or anything. We just sort of support one another. And people are like, public speaking is like great practice for like 20%, but really it's 80% meeting my colleagues who I never had a chance to like support one another or build a relationship. So it's actually like, it's something you can do every day, but get on the channel. Podcasting is so fun. And actually with you guys, just because you're exploring these ideas and that can be really, really fun. So I'm totally psyched to be here. I'm ready for anything.
I love that. Absolutely love that. All right. And so Nick said a big word with several syllables that you use as your title.
You have to say it. Say it, Dan. Say it.
You gotta try it. You got to.
I don't have it. I don't have it. All right. Let me. Here's gonna be an honest triad. A performacologist.
Nailed it.
Let's go.
Perfect.
Let's go.
You did great.
Never
World
doubt
renowned
yourself,
for my
Dan.
pronunciation.
Don't ever sell yourself short. Just think about performacologist next time you do, and you're gonna be like, never mind, I got this.
Yeah. Just when you go see your GP, you just might not ask them. It's like, I'm really having some performance problems, and I would like to talk to a performacologist. You might steer them down the wrong path, bro. That's not
Different
right.
kind of doctor.
Different, it's a human experience. When you get older, it's fine. I get it. Everyone may have issues. But,
it pulls in info from before. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Mark,
what? But for me, no, it's great. I had been like when I first started, I was just working in quality analyst, tester, software testing, mostly functional testing. Like security hadn't even shown up on the scene as a discipline within testing and QA. And I just I worked for years, and suddenly it was like, we need somebody to stay up all night and run load tests when everyone else goes home, because you could isolate the system that you're testing. It was a big Oracle pharmacy. I think it was a pharmacy operations system running an Oracle, a bunch of Turbo C++, like C programming, direct to Oracle kind of stuff. Like imagine printers printing out your pharmacy, in the hospital, here's 40 things of morphine or whatever. So it's like label printing, like pharmacy operations. And they were like, well, we have these performance tests, we're getting big enough and people are building these large enough institutions that we needed to do performance testing. And I happened to be really, I don't know, at the time, maybe I was really bad at functional testing. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I was blown away. I'm like, this is so fun. It's like functional testing with concurrent, the test cases were different. You got to play with systems. You got deeper into the zeros and ones and the configurations. And I just loved it. So I went through all of this work, and I worked for a company called Mercury Interactive, did load testing, I was consulting, training, all this stuff. Finally, went to all these different places in my career, and I launched independent. And when you're independent, what do you put on your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, right. You can't
you're not I'm not just senior performance guy. Okay, fine. Or I'm not just assistant to the senior person of the time. The hierarchy's gone. And you're free to tell the world who you are. And so I just said, I came up and they give you go give a talk at a conference or something. They're like, we got to put your title on there. I'm like, I don't have a title. And I can't put CEO of my own company because no one likes.
I hate that. That's such a bad look.
It's not. So I'm like, forget it. So I went through any performance testing related thing. So the Scalinator, something to do with bottlenecks, Performancier,
Performancier,
a romance, and then for some reason, one of those things I just put up performacologist, which is like a proctologist, but for computers,
but for technology.
You're
exactly
gonna reach in there and figure out what's going on. Something's wrong. You're gonna straighten it out, make sure things run smoothly, and I'll just stop the puns there. But
they always say if you want to get a good look at a packet.
Right, you got to inspect.
That's right.
What you're what's coming down the pipe. Anyway, but it's very, very true, right? I mean, so I enjoyed just the performacologist, and it just kind of stuck. Another one was a guy named Joe Colantonio. I was on his podcast a lot, test automation and performance stuff. And at the time, I went through Performance Sherpa.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that. I had
25 years. Going to the top of the performance mountain.
Oh yeah.
I'm consulting. I'll help you make the trip.
You're guiding them
countless times as a guide, as a Sherpa. And he made an image of me with a stopwatch and a Sherpa hat, and I was I loved it. And then it was that's maybe a little off color, whatever their Sherpas. And
that's kind of like performance shaman. It's
right.
There's a little too much mysticism.
It's and it's why would I hire that weirdo? And I'm like, all right, well, I'll still be weird, but performacologist is a professional, is a doctor. I've got my PhD in performacology.
That's right.
I like that.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. I like it.
titles are such an interesting thing of how it's like that first read. Like for me, I think I've talked about it on a full dedicated episode. I don't know how to classify myself, and it usually depends on the audience, right? How much I want to talk to them as compared to not wanting to talk to them, whether it's like out in person. But I generally say a content creator, even though of my actual work, it's probably less than 10% of what I do. But there's just so many other things. And yeah, it's all under my own LLC umbrella, but I don't ever say like, oh, I'm a CEO or a business owner or this. It's like, even like entrepreneur just has a weird vibe to it.
It does have a weird vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because that makes it sound like you're for sure like just over your parents' garage in an office that they with like a, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain vibe to that. There's a time and a place for it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
No criticism.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think, Dan, to your point, Dan, it's also like, what do I do versus the identity statement? Like you guys would say, here's a person who's like, does this kind of work. And it's inviting people to learn that perspective versus here's a person of a particular level or of a particular identity, which to me is always a little less. I think I'm still just a practitioner, like playing in the digital dirt of stuff and coming up with interesting things. And, you know, if you ask me what I do, like, that's what I do. And who I am is like a different kind of thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, you're the CEO of whatever. It's an identity statement. It's like, okay, well, certain audiences, certain people, that's important to them. And you're like, all right. So you like, I get it for public speaking. Sometimes they're like, well, we want to have somebody that will attract, you know, the right audience to come, and you got to have this identity title. So, you know, it's like, all right, if you need to call me that, call me that. I on the PR stuff I've done, do a lot of stuff with Dynatrace, as Nick said, and it's like it's one of many vendors that I support and work with. And it's like their marketing people are like, well, we're going to call you a CTO. And I'm like, well, that's kind of offensive to people that are actual CTOs, because I don't want to, like, it would be offensive to real Sherpas. Like, no, that's legit. I'm not a Sherpa.
Yeah, like, you don't want to anger a shaman, you know, you really don't. Like, it's just one of those things you don't want to do. No, you're right though. I never even thought about why I did that, but I very rarely, like, unless they're in our world, right? Or it's like you said, you're prepping for a trade show or a speaking role somewhere. If someone, you know, in my neighborhood, you know, asks like what you do, I tell them I'm a technologist. That's really
what I do.
I'm a technologist, and honestly, I'm like a technologist, musician. I'm a photographer, you know, artist. So I mean, I kind of throw a few things out there typically, but like, what do I do is very different. Like, I'm the CTO of a startup, and I'm a software and security and network architect. Like, that's not relevant to half the audience that you speak to anyway, right? And it's one of those things where why say anything if you're going to say a bunch of words that the person you're talking to doesn't understand, right?
Yeah, and I make stuff go faster.
Yeah, like, there you go.
Like that. Which is like the Star Trek reference to whatever that episode. We like things that make us go fast. And I'm like, I love that. I can help you do that.
And with that said, I am the plain Jane of this bunch. And so my job is to try and relay what you guys are talking about to normal people. And that's perfect here with this title, right? With this classification, performance and observability. I genuinely don't know what that means. Can you explain what in plain English that means, what you do, and just kind of anything that someone that's not from the outside would understand?
Sure. Like, when you're using your computer, do you ever get frustrated when it's just taking a long time?
Of course. Yes.
All right. So the first step is you see, or in the interaction, you witness or perceive, wow, that shouldn't take that long.
Okay.
Right. And then inevitably, if, like, we're all saturated by technology at every turn, if something's not taking too long, typically it goes into something must be wrong. Like 9 times out of 10, most people are like, I expect it to be pretty fast because somebody smarter than me about this computer. So it could be a train system, a mobile app. It could be the ATM that you're getting money out. What people like, there's no way for a human system in society to work that we built something essential like this that takes 15 minutes to get cash out of a cash machine.
Yeah.
Right.
And so as you go from an anticipated response to the sensation of there must be something wrong, it opens up this perceptive window for curiosity for some people.
Yeah.
For some people, they're like, I'm just stopping and cutting them out. Done.
Yeah. This is annoying and I'm done now.
Yeah. Okay. And there's other people that are like, well, give it a minute. Like if you're stuck in traffic, you're like, I can't really see how far this is going. Maybe the app is telling me it'll be a 5-minute wait. It's like, oh, it turns out to be a 35-minute. So there's some people that are just naturally like not in a rush.
Okay.
And maybe they legitimately are like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm just gonna take this time to zen out, and just wait. But when it comes to using electronics and computers, that is the transition of performance awareness to a performance problem. Like something is slow. Great. So observability is the part that says I can observe that happening. And through self-awareness, I could observe that I'm thinking different things after a few seconds or maybe in a minute.
Yeah.
So that's the transition in meaning, contextual meaning, from a technical performance problem to what am I thinking about the world and this system and the company that has built this? And I'm observing not with my tools, the zeros and ones, I'm observing customers or end users. I didn't have to be a customer. They could just be citizens, people in the world. I'm observing people have that reaction to something starting to be slow. They're losing trust in whatever they're doing. They're losing trust in the system. They're losing the ability to get something done if their goal is let's get some things done.
Yes.
Achieve this mission.
That's it.
Right. And that's so observability is more like putting on the X-ray goggles to be able to see everything that happens technically. And then as it transitions into this sort of human perception part of performance awareness or performance cognition, where I would say performance starts to influence your experience of life, of whatever you're doing. That's the first two parts. The latter part of the profession is what do I do with that knowledge? Right. Okay, we need to fix something.
Now you know. Yeah.
Now you know. What am I going to do? I found the problems. It seems like a problem. Might not be a problem. It seems like a problem. Do I escalate solving that? Go to solutions? What would be the cost benefit of solving this? Well, every ATM is affected. So if we would see more people be able to have less hassle, one might think about personal risk or safety. You think about ATMs in a certain neighborhoods are like, maybe this is not a safe neighborhood. But so we need to make sure those people get in, get out. We had a camera, whatever it is. Security and safety become concerns. Whatever dimensions that you're solving for, that to me is why people invest in what I do, which is, can you analyze the performance? Can you observe the performance, analyze that transition from zeros and ones? Like when Nick and I are talking about NetFlow recently, just a network packets back and forth. You're like, okay, that's great. That's zeros and ones. What's happening to my human society? What's happening particularly to my business within that or my organization in that stuff? And then the third part is, how do I actually improve or optimize or solve those kinds of things?
Wow. I love when I have things in my day-to-day life that I just know, but have never thought or put words to. And you just encompass that entirely. Like, to give the most brief example of all time, my computer was going slow in the last couple of weeks. And the exact same thing. I went to load something. It was probably a difference of 5 seconds, but I noticed it. And then I went into the action phase, and it turned out there was something wrong with an extension, one of the extensions on my Chrome browser. And all I had to do was disable that extension. And I had a brand new computer that was firing at all cylinders. When moments ago, I'm like, $2,000 for a new one. Oh my gosh, how am I going to get my work done today? Like, what am I going to do? And you just explained that literal process I went through.
Yeah. And that little gap in there that's like, am I doing something wrong? Or is the computer doing something wrong? Let's say in society, it's like,
my expectations skewed.
Right. Exactly. And then you start, a performacologist goes to the next level of, how did we learn to construct our expectations of any system, but in particular computer systems for me, but also like, hey, the train is late. Okay, that's a system. You can think of cars on the train tracks. I wrote in SEPTA this morning. It's like, why are you 2 minutes late? Well, 2 minutes late. Well, that's not very late. I'm not going to like spend a lot of time thinking about it. Just literally, I'm just 2 minutes is fine. But if it's 20 minutes late, I'm like, what's going on? So to your point, Dan, you're like, this is slow enough. I'm going to ask, what's going on? And that opens the door to human perception and sort of values stratification. What's important to you? What's not important to you in the current content? Like all that, the ologist part. Like I married a really, really smart lady. And it's my 29th year of being married. And so I just have this great privilege of somebody who is definitely an ologist. Epistemology.
What is that?
That's the existence typically, right? So epistemology would be like, make an argument for the existence of this mouse.
Okay.
Look it up, right? So it's concerned with the nature or origin of how you know something. So make an argument for the existence of this mouse. In an epistemological way, you could say, what mouse?
Right. True.
Right. I have no knowledge of this mouse. It's a great joke. It's a philosophy joke. Most people don't like philosophy jokes.
That sounds very Schrodinger-esque.
Right.
It is. But to that point, it's like
observation. And I mean, talk about observability. I mean, there's no better analogy for you.
Yeah. So observability would be, how did I get the knowledge that something is slow into my experience?
Right.
Now, to Dan's point, if you're using Chrome browser, it's right there visually in front of your face. This thing is slow. But imagine you are like going across 10,000 terminal devices. For us, it's all point of sale stuff, right? So you're going all the way out to these terminals all over the place. You're moving things back and forth on the wire to a bank and back, to a bank and back. That's your money, my money, our money, every time you swipe. So making all of that infrastructure, as well as the metadata about those transactions, now we're talking sort of macro observability, which is like an huge amount of data, incredible amount of data. This is Nick and I were talking about this stuff and the things that he's working on, like NetFlow data, like every layer of the stack vertically, meaning like low level packets, operating systems, metrics, logs, all this stuff in observability. And then you throw that into a giant data lake, some kind of database, data store somehow, and analyze everything you'd ever wanted to ask. And then you throw it into the AI world, and someone trains a model and they figure stuff out.
Well, so now what's interesting about talking about this is I have a frame of reference about why you care about the things you care about at the scale that you do it. What most people are probably not going to realize yet, listening to this, is the scale at which you do this. So if anyone here has ever swiped a credit card in an airport, that's going through the systems that Mark monitors. If you've ever swiped a credit card and paid for a beer at any stadium, arena, concert venue, or anything hosted by Live Nation or Ticketmaster in your life, that also goes through Mark's systems. All of this goes through the Freedom Pay networks, and just about, I don't know what percentage of credit card swipes in the planet at this point are captured by the systems that Mark monitors, but it is a measurable percentage.
Wow.
And so it's the scale at what we're talking about here is mind-boggling levels of data, right? We talked about the exponential data growth problem last week, I think. And, this is an example of that problem, right? You look at like the systems that, you guys are integrating with now. Like I was at the airport. I don't know if anybody else here has experienced this yet. If anybody has experienced the completely contactless register-less, stores in the airports yet. Dan, have you seen these? Yeah.
Just walk through.
Just place it. Yeah.
No, it's not even that. You swipe your card when you walk in, you walk around and grab things, and then you just leave.
It's like the Amazon stores.
Yeah. You literally just grab stuff, hold on to it, put your water under your arm, grab a bag of chips, whatever you're going to get, and you just walk out. And those systems are all exactly. It's getting crazy what these things are doing. But I guess we talk about what observability and perform ecology actually is. But give people an example, I guess, of like what it of what you do at the scale that you do it at, right? Like, what are some of the things that you're watching? Like, what do you mean when we talk about like user experience? Like, what user experience is that?
Yeah, it's a great example. Like, let's say you're in Las Vegas on a Friday night and you're going to go to the Sphere, and shout out to Paul, like you're going to go see Fish at the Sphere. And you can go to the dispensary, and you can like figure, and you go to the show. It's great. You've really enjoyed yourself and imbibed adult beverages and all kinds of things in your endeavors to enjoy the show. And you sort of maybe go to the next machine or whatever you're going to go. You got the munchies. All right. So we're going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, also a Freedom Pay customer, by the way. Shout out to Buffalo Wild. You just got Jones in for some wings. So we're going to go get you a beer and a wing. And you grab the wrong card. And you're like, all right, I swipe the card, and it takes maybe an extra 200 milliseconds, but typically 500 to 600 milliseconds sub-second for you to go all the way to the bank, which we call a processor. They're processing the payment. And they come back and say, hey, that's the wrong card. You don't have, you can't buy a round of beers for the gang and wings. So it gives you a decline. And, you're not very perceptive. So you're like, I'll just try the card again. Oh, that's wrong. I'll just try the card again. And you're like, that experience is like 3 or 4 swipes getting a decline. And if you've ever had a wait person or the cashier or the associate in the store sort of kind of get perturbed with you with the multiple declines, it can be embarrassing, right? It's a little, you might not care if you're a little intoxicated, it might not be a big deal, but to some people, like if it can be embarrassing. And it's like, okay, well, part of the reason they pay the fee every time that declines. So if you do 4 declines, they just paid, let's say, n number of more cents for those things to be determined that you decline. It's like, sir, excuse me, you've tried the same card 3 times. Do you have another card? So there's this weird kind of interaction emotionally, but also sort of even financially, if you're managing your money. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I need to figure out which account this comes from. It can be a little bit awkward. That whole experience can be optimized, but we're doing it globally for potentially millions and millions of people every second. I wouldn't say every second. Maybe with every minute, millions every minute. Like it's not actually, like rapid fire scanning. We do that in load testing, but not, in the real world. But it is globally millions of people transacting on our system across the platform. It is, I believe, the world's largest globally distributed e-commerce system or commerce system in the world.
I was going to let you say it.
Yeah. But it's one thing to say the marketing speak. It's another thing to go into your observability tool and see the system laid out under load of a real world peak Thursday afternoons, noon to 1. Wow, this is real. Like, this is real. And when I started 10 years ago working with these guys, it was like a very small singular system with a lot of single points of failure, and didn't have the load that it had today. And it's just, as Nick knows, it's just gone off the charts. And that's not, in a way, that's our business. Of course, it's our business. But it's also just global commerce, like everyone's business, like doing more transactions electronically. More countries are approving electronic commerce versus classic forms of paper or coin-based commerce. So it's just the adoption of the platform and the global ubiquitous nature of internet capabilities in the transactions. So it is kind of mind-boggling to think about payments at scale, but also think about the size of our systems growing, the redundancies and resiliencies we built. One of the key things about performance is like parallelism, for instance. So we had a driving analogy before that was like, hey, I'm on a 2-lane road and there's no passing lane. And you get one, if you're driving in the mountains, like you're going to go skiing or something, you're kind of like, I'm stuck behind this guy. So in the mountains, they have a turn lane or a passing lane where they allow faster traffic to move faster. Well, in an urban area, here's, if you're in California, here's a 6 lanes each way because they know congestion wise. So one of the optimizations you might do is increased parallelism, which is something we did to allow multiple payments to happen at the same time through the same system to the same bank. So that was massive parallelism at every level. It's just a good example of like how we do that happen.
Man,
I'm sorry, Dan. It was a good question. What was the question?
No.
He
nailed it.
Yeah, G Squared just said that reminds him of like a digital detective, and I thought that was a cool way
Oh,
of looking at it.
Yeah, like a sleuth.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sherlock Holmes. I did mention the performacology thing was like X-ray glasses.
Yeah.
And I think about in the medical world, full props, respect on actual medical doctors who are ologists more than me, formally. But in the medical practices, as well as forensic science, there's differential diagnosis. So you're narrowing through a rule set, potentially the highest probability of what something might be the root cause. So that's one way to look at differential diagnosis, like in a Sherlock Holmes novel. Or Hercule Poirot would be probably better, because it's like they have that scene at the end where they bring like all 12 people together in the room in the whodunit kind of section, where they're going through well, you might think that Miss Green did X, Y, and Z, and you might think that so-and-so was on the beach, except for the fact that they are unable to walk because of a bunion of the thing at the time. But still, there's still some of that finding a needle in the haystack, finding the culprit instead of the victims. So that's an interesting way to think of the sleuthery of performance work. There's two other analogies that I use over the years, or I've learned from other experts over the years. And one is, of course, the peeling of the layers of the onion, and outside in. So we know what we know, and then we peel away to learn what we didn't know until that point. And then the interesting thing is there's things in the center that we don't even know we don't know until we peel another layer. So you're always peeling away a layer to learn more, and then you might be like, aha, this particular device only goes through one port. It's single threaded. So we're doing all of this concurrent work, and then we get to one IO port. We get to one file or one circuit. And then you're like, how do I make that 2? How do I make that 4? And do I do that in the guts of a single computer system? Now, your laptop, Dan, Nick, probably has 4 cores, 8 cores, 16 cores. Processors have exploded in parallelism. 7 cores. There you go. So one of those might be processor 0 or core 0 in the system. And it takes on a lot of the core kernel systems. But those other processors over there, you're going to do some graphic stuff. You're going to do some networking stuff. You're going to do some other stuff. But, if you need serious kernel work, you're coming back to me, 0. And so that can be a form of congestion on a single thing. So in the sleuthery, that peeling away the layer of the onion. Yeah.
So talk about sleuthery and talk about layers. One, that I want to hit that question that you had there for a second, Dan, but in one sec, is that one of the things that I didn't realize it's been 10 years. Time flies. So you have been here 10 years. And so one of the things we talked about, how I don't mention, what do you do? I'm a technologist. So a lot of people here know that I'm a technologist. Well, one of the many things that I do as a technologist is I'm an advisor at FreedomPay. And I've worked with FreedomPay now for, since 2014. So like 12 years ish.
Yeah.
I've worked with them to scale, that network and security architecture side of the house. So when Mark says that 10 years ago, they were single threaded at one point in the planet, myself, along with the rest of the network and the architecture team, and shout out to Johnny Britt, we've brought that now globally, right? So over the past 12 years, I've worked with the team at FreedomPay to basically take what they've had as a single point of presence and distribute it across the entire planet from a network and architecture, from a network standpoint. And one of the things that I appreciate about Mark coming on board 10 years ago that's made my life a whole lot less stressful is knowing where the problem comes from. Because in the network and security world, it is always our problem until we prove it's not our problem. Ooh. We are the glue that holds everything together, right? All these globally distributed systems, if they don't talk, it's definitely not the person who coded the thing to talk's problem at first. It's the damn network, right? And that's always been the case. And people wonder why network guys are grumpy. And so, one of the things that Mark does and the work that he does is being able to, without even going through the process of, is it this, is it that, is it the network, is targeting where in that whole huge chain of events that problem actually exists, and then going to chase down that problem where it lies, as opposed to going on witch hunts for poor network people that don't have anything to do with the problem. So right. I don't have a chip on my shoulder at all. It's not been years of abuse or anything.
There's no relation there.
No, not at all. So Mark basically makes it so I don't get blamed for nearly as many things at over there, which is absolutely fantastic. And then
Nick, to your point, just for a second break, I think,
please,
to support you, it's also when it truly is a network problem, when it truly is, it really is like you are the only expert team that can solve that. Once we rule out through deductive reasoning, hey, it's not this should work this way. This seems like it's right. Now, it's software. We can adjust stuff over here if you really need us to. Like, why do we need to pretend the software is hard and fast when actually copper, photons, electrons, physical networking is hard? Right. Like, meaning it's a physical substrate that's like that transceiver can only move so much power, energy, light per second. And so it's like those are the hard ground rules that you have to work within when you go to build software. So I think to the question about sort of high integrity in terms of data is if everything's working perfectly in the physical storage and data movement layer, then you can do a lot of things in the software layer kind of flexibly because you've got healthy physical layers to move data around and store that data, right? Transform it. So if you think of processing in your browser or processing in the code, usually that's data transformation of some kind, converting it into something else, something it didn't exist before now exists. But data movement and data storage are very, very physical layers of any infrastructure. So to be honest, when I escalate something to Johnny or the network team, it's like, hey, we're seeing a limitation on movement between here and there. I only would bring you guys problems that are like, this is a data movement problem. Oh yeah, you're going down a bad route. Oh yeah, that's jumping through this thing, or we're hitting some, bad GLB. Some network device in the middle is like overloaded or something. Yeah. Exactly.
That makes sense. And I love that, especially surrounding Josh's question here. And also Congruity, right? They are a data management company, and kind of like two sides where my brain jumps right away. Number one, the scalability that you have with what you're dealing with, especially in terms of credit card swipes, the consequences of even seconds has to be monumental, right? If a system were to go down, let's say at an airport or casinos, right? I've heard that for where Nick had to get up at 3 a.m. to do stuff for casino testing.
Yep.
How important, and again, someone who doesn't know this stuff deeply, how important is data management from preventing that or scaling that? Because it would seem in my mind, the bigger you get, the more you have to manage the data, but I just don't know.
Yeah. I from my perspective, it's making really good choices about what data you don't need. And those are really like a subset of them are really easy. It's like, I need this data just to complete the transaction. After that, who cares?
Man, and
the job
and
is done.
To cut you up, but Nick has always had a quote to me that he said forever to me, and there's so much that now I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from. That's why his brain works that way. It is much more important for the human's brain ability to forget than to remember.
Yep, absolutely right.
And that we say that 100 times to each other, and you just explained it. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely where that comes from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now then it leaves like there's that gap that's like, how do I make good decisions? Because one of the things you might decide is, I don't have time to figure out whether I need this data or not.
Right.
So just save it.
Okay.
That's great. So then 20 years later, somebody that's told to another person became the rule, became the norm. I think it was my grandfather was like, the strongest force in the entire universe is the status quo. So we have always put the data in there. We'd never think about whether we need it or what we use it for. We're just going to save it because what if I don't know? What if there's a business case that I didn't know? I'm just one cog, one practitioner in the team.
I don't want to be the one that didn't know.
Yep.
Right. And someone, just in case someone needs that. And I think there's a lot of people in the database world that are like, let's make our money on the fact that it's very complex and very maybe fear-based. If I can save this data, great. Look at Glacier. Look at some of the huge data lakes that are like, we are going to compress it and tuck it away for a rainy day that may never come. But at least you're not on record as the guy that deleted it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's a safe move. So I think really elegant data management at this point is the ability to see about what data is important, meaningful, valuable, useful today based on history, forecasting. But what if I'm noticing the business is going in a certain direction? There may be metadata that's in these wildcard fields that people overload. Well, I didn't know where else to put this little field, so we kind of added it in this place. And it's like, oh my God, I've got 20 years worth of that little data. Fantastic. We can go do these other calculations, other algorithms and stuff. So I think that's the elegance of being able to manage high volumes of data. What stuff can I sort of set aside safely? What stuff is like, you know what, our current systems, we were going to build farm implements and now we're working in quantum mechanics. Okay, if we're ever going to build a quantum tiller, okay, maybe
things.
I'm trying to, maybe it's a thing. I don't know. Like, what do I need to plant the seeds if they're already grown in the quantum level? I already ate the food. Do I even like?
Yeah, don't need to. Entanglement, fix that when it's already in your stomach. Don't even need to grow it.
Right. So that's to me, that's the biggest part at volume. I'll say the other more simple pain, Dan, is stuff takes time to move. Right. So if like if you've ever done a backup on your machine, it's like, oh, it's going to take 3 hours. Or if you're in Windows, it takes 4 days, 15 minutes, 27 days,
4 times.
Yeah. Right. The offline files, guys. But that's just an algorithm calculating the total amount of whatever. So we can make systems faster to reduce the time to back up and manage and move data around. Compression algorithms are becoming more efficient. Oddly, be using GPU and using more modern processing capabilities, right, in parallel. So I mean, there's other ways that you can reduce the time to juggle huge amounts of data.
Well, with that, I got to point out, you literally nailed it. This is why Freedom Pay is a Congruity 360 customer, right? This is why this partnership works. Did we mention Freedom Pay as a Congruity 360 customer?
No. We probably should. And he mentioned metadata and different. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Just it's literally everything.
So literally, we could say it without saying it because I mean it's an obvious fit. But I mean the reason we just talked about the ability to forget. Literally, this is what Classify allows you to do, right? If you look at what we're able to do with data tagging, when we go through, and this is a perfect example from what Mark just said, Dan, to what you've kind of asked me about in the past, which is, why does this even matter? Like what does it do and why does it matter? And this is a great example. So you don't want to be the guy, Mark said, that deletes something that you're supposed to not delete, right? You also, on the same token, if you get hacked and someone exposes a bunch of information that you should have deleted years ago, right? You don't want to be that guy either, right? So if you don't want to be the guy that deleted something you weren't supposed to, and you don't want to be the guy that didn't delete something that wasn't required for you to keep and was dangerous, toxic data, that's what data tagging and classification aligning with policy and retention policies actually ends up getting you. Because Classify can go in and say, this is stuff that according to your policies, this is dangerous information that we found. It's got PII data in it, right? Personal identification information. And you are not required based on these policies you've given us to retain it any longer. It's safe to delete. Or it's the opposite, where it's, this is toxic data, but according to these policies, you're required to keep it for another 4 years. But knowing that, you don't treat it like the rest of your data. You put it in a special part of the network, like Mark was saying. You annex it. You make it difficult to get to. You do things that Congruity 360 does with their customers, which is things like net gaps, where it's a network gap, where it's a security policy. You have to open a ticket with the security team They provide you access to files that they can then give you in audit the fact that you have them.
Right.
They can track where they go once they give them to you.
Gated DLPs, right? I mean,
100%,
those are all very cool.
100%.
Yeah.
But this is that question that I think Josh asked is exactly what I mean. It's 100% the reason that Congruity 360 and it's the reason they do what they do. It's that exact reason. It's the ability to forget and forgetting safely, and then not forgetting when you're not supposed to.
Nick, the questions on about the AT&T kept my info for 10 years after I was a customer. They all do that, and the data broker world is well known. Here's an interesting thing. You think about data brokers over the last, I'll say 15 years, maybe more than 15 years, really becoming a discipline run by sometimes nefarious bad actors, sometimes people just being capitalists. But there's a shift now in terms of actual hacking. I forget where I was reading the article. It might have been Ralph Loos, the Rabbit Hole podcast, Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. And I've known Ralph for 20 years. Holy crap, 20 years. And Ralph's a fantastic guy. He was mentioning something, or one of the guests was mentioning something about, it used to be that somebody to be hired to go attack knew what they were looking for, and they were looking for actionable data that was typically very recent and stored in a way that would be useful today.
Relevant
and actionable. Like if I, in our world, we're PCI compliant stuff. If you were to get a credit card number, you wouldn't care about a credit card number that's expired, right? I mean, it's just like, who gets expired? The bank has terminated that, whatever. You can't transact anything on it. You can't steal my money. Great. But the second thing that's happening is exactly this idea of old data becoming more valuable because we're training models that do relevant things based on historic data.
Oh yeah.
So like we've entered a whole new realm that if I'm a for-hire hacker, black hat, I will go, like, you hire me to go get your data, and I had to get stuff that was relevant today without doing any training, any models. Now it's like, if I can get in there and I can get all your data from the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that I can do trending and forecasting, classic models, and I can use all that feature data to train new stuff. That's why you have to hide all this stuff. It's just like it used to be you protected things for today. Now you're protecting stuff that you forever. Man. Because it could be used to predict things in the future.
And it's
not to mention quantum stuff, then
can't even
action.
Go there. And I learned some of this working with Nick. We worked previously on his beard product company, Dr. Nick's. And there were two situations where it never even crossed my mind until it came up. One was when they were closing, we had to close the website in a certain kind of way on Shopify. And then you had to lock in data. I forget the time frame, like 150 days. And I'm like, why in the world? And Nick is like, well, if you have chargebacks, if you have this situation, you have that situation. I'm like, oh my gosh. Then we had another guy who ordered and said, hey, I'm looking to like limit my digital footprint. Please erase all my information. And it's like, well, what do we have to hold on to? What can we erase? How do we manage this data? Never even thought about it when I'm over here just talking about beard oils, but it all has to happen. You have to think about those things.
Yeah. And these are also legal orders and by jurisdictions. It's like you're in the EU, this is the law. And if like they will pull let's say you're running them. Yeah. You and me are running $1 billion business doing something amazingly cool. They'll just be like, yeah, but you're not following the rules. You're out.
And you're done. And they don't mess around either. No. It's like that right to be forgotten. They audit it. They have. It's nasty. And what you said about the perception piece about old data. Like you don't need to even steal anything relevant these days to be relevant on the news, because if you steal old data and then disclose that you stole it, just being able to obtain the data, the fact that you have people's information when in a breach disclosure for AT&T, did you read that all the data that they stole was either sanitized, missing digits, or was old expired cards?
You lose the fine print. Yeah. Like people don't, there's a breach. And I would say in the beginning of we didn't even know what breach meant. I think some people did. At least I didn't. At some point, it was like, oh, wait a minute. As I learned infrastructure more, it's like, this is how you protect confidential data, and you learn that kind of stuff. Now the general my dentist knows what a data breach is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I still don't know how a crown works, but they know what a data breach is, which brings us full circle to Dan's comment about everyone. Like everyone is resonating on a lot of technology topics because of the buzz. But there is fine print that you still need expertise and consult with people to like, hey, how do I really make sense of the nitty gritty of this kind of stuff?
And I do think we have about 5 minutes left here, and I think it is worthy of hitting a buzz term here because it's the number one thing people ask me about. So AI, with what you do, and you've talked about quantum. I'm not even ready to go there. That's such like I can't even wrap
quantum
my head
payments.
Yeah. Oh man. But AI, good, bad, how is it, and maybe those aren't even the proper terms, how is it impacting you who have been doing this long before this has been like the new wave? Has there been good? Has there been challenges?
There's been challenges on our part in FreedomPay specifically. Like we challenge ourselves to do this in a very cautious way. It's a complex thing to adopt. The stakes are very high for us. So we're very cautious about it. And I think we're doing it the right way in terms of analyzing where data flows. It's very similar to a DLP. We're treating prompt data through DLP, masking, all the kinds of things. But as an industry, it's a calculator, right? I mean, this is another way to munge data that's really hard to crunch. So to me, correlation was the biggest part within performance. Slowness over here, high CPU over there. I fixed the high CPU. Now I have slowness over here and a slow disk. So I'm constantly correlating things across a fairly discrete system. And as we pointed out before, that discrete system is now 250,000 microservices across a global grid and service mesh of a number of services running in clusters and data centers all over the world. So the performance correlation problem, one, observability gives me the feature data to feed into an AI model. And then the pattern recognition capabilities, once I train a model, it can find a performance bottleneck in 2 seconds and then recommend, do you want me to fix it with X, Y, and Z? Because we have configuration as code and we can scale things autonomously and do stuff. So I think, at least in my little world of performance and observability, it's incredibly useful. The human mind, we have better things to do. I think we have better things to do with our minds, right? With value judgments, ethical decisions, how to exist and correlate and collaborate with people, how to invent new ideas. I mean, like AI invents the ideas that it predicts you might want, but you might not want a dinosaur that wears a bikini and knows how to drive a car.
Yeah.
Stop.
You might not want that. You might want that, but you might not want that. But that's what we trained the model to tell you to do. So it's a calculator. But I think in the greater human experience of AI, as a technologist, long before it became a buzzword, before the first neural nets, I had an opportunity to work with somebody, Dr. Regine Eichler. Kurt West was my buddy, and his partner wife at the time was Regine, working at the computational neuroscience department at the University of Minnesota. Very fascinating person at the time, inventing what they called hill climber routines. And so it was, what did it take to climb a fictitious amount of data or a hill? And you learned from climbing one hill how to predict and educate other hill climbers in the neural net of here's how we learn how to climb hills. And sort of mimicking what synapses do, or actual cognition, and the brain trains itself. And that was the first thing that, literally, no pun intended, blew my mind, that we could actually train a logic of a program to mimic what a human mind can do. And so you can go look up her work if she's still doing work. I'm not sure. But looking at where we've come, that was 32 years ago.
Wow.
And now I've got AI running on my phone, giving me looking up better recipes for egg white, wraps or something, right? And I'm like, you know what? That was like really trying to understand the human mind and the betterment for medical science and research and all this kind of stuff.
Wasn't that long ago?
No, 32. But now I'm using this amazing AI to do Google searches. So I'm like, there's something societally that's like, what's the cost benefit here? Like, could I just call up a friend that says, you know how egg whites work? It's like, well, actually, yes, I went to the CIA and I learned how, not this
culinary.
I'm sure the CIA knows, but you know what I mean?
The CIA doesn't want you to know is how egg whites work.
Yeah. So I think we should use optimization of the automated autonomous thinking capabilities, artificial thinking capabilities at places where we could just never get there. And there's some value to it. There's like, this is really important research. This is really important to learn and contribute back and better. I think there's a lot of people that are burning AI for the fun of AI's sake. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. Maybe we're learning the negative side of, okay, we know what we don't want to do.
Right.
Okay,
right.
we know as a society that maybe this isn't for the betterment of all mankind. So let's do the thing that it's actually really good at.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. The overlap in your world is a clear one, though. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. Correlation, event correlation, visibility, being at two places at once. And speaking of being two places at once, how in the world is it already almost 2 minutes past 3 o'clock?
Yeah, we're overtime.
We're over.
I have no idea how that happened.
Man.
Whoops.
No, it was perfect. And to wrap it up on my side, I can't help, and so much of AI, right, is the learning model. So much of what you talked about, almost every single situation, I'm like, oh, that's life. Oh, that's how I think. Oh, that's this day to day. You're just applying it to tech. For example, I'm frugal. I didn't grow up with much money. And so I'm not a hoarder, but I struggle with throwing some things away.
Sure.
Like if I get a new electronic device, I hold on to the box because in my mind, what if I have to return it 2 years from now? I need that box. My wife, no, throw the box away because her historical data is, Dan, you've returned exactly 0 phones in 20 years. You don't need that. But I'm like, what if I do throw it away? I don't want to be that guy. And then you're talking about that on the tech side. My brain was racing this entire time relating it. I absolutely loved it. It's so unbelievably fascinating how it mimics the human brain. And I could talk to you for days and days and days, and hopefully I'll have more of a chance, but I got to stop there on myself. And Mark, man, thank you for taking the time to do this today. Thank you for the entertainment, the understanding. This was absolutely incredible.
No, it's great to meet you guys both. Thanks for asking me to come on. And a shout out to Paul, who just couldn't make it. I'm sorry, Paul.
That's it. That's okay. He'll miss out on the fun for now. He'll look at all the fun you had and get jealous, and he'll want to come back when he's not in meetings.
Right on.
Absolutely. All right, Nick, any final words for all our friends out there?
Oh man, thanks as always for joining us. This was fantastic. I think we're gonna keep bringing people like Mark. Not like there's anybody like Mark, but we're gonna keep bringing interesting people that have perspectives that are just different than the perspectives that you might have and go about your everyday life with. And we're gonna try to keep relating super complex, high-level topics down to very elegant explanations that align with everyday life, and trying to have some fun while we do it. And I think today was an awesome example of doing that. So thanks for that, Mark. I really appreciate it. And we're gonna come back next week with another banger. Keep your eyes out and keep your eyes peeled for guests, announcements, and all that fun stuff. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday. If you're watching a replay, leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a great week ahead, everybody.